Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Warzone footage. This is on the Battle of Noctis, that's right, I managed to bag some Battle of Noctis gameplay, which I was quite happy about. This is the newest Warzone edition. There's unfortunately only 4 Warzone maps, and they didn't include a Warzone Assault variant of this game type, which kind of seems like it was a no-brainer, and it kind of seems like they should have done, because the map's pretty big. It feels like it would be pretty self-explanatory to be able to divide the map into 3 pieces. Nonetheless, it is my favorite Warzone map so far. It's got a metropolis, big city, a little bit futuristic vibe going for it. It kind of reminds me of like a Titanfall map, like Angel City. But it also reminds me of I think it was the second or third mission on the Halo 2 campaign, where you first see the Scarab for the first time, and you're like, holy crap, and you jump on top of the Scarab. Which once again raises the question of why didn't they do Scarabs? Why can't they do Scarabs in matchmaking? Even if it was like a miniature form of a Scarab, or just some form of a Scarab where you could get inside it, and the only way you could take it out was from the inside, from the pilot's cockpit. Like, I think that would be so sick, because you want to like fight through all these people. You come on with an energy sword, you're hacking and slashing people away, and then the satisfaction of bringing down a Scarab from the inside out would be absolutely epic in matchmaking. Nonetheless, didn't come here to talk about Scarabs. I'd say I wanted to talk about the state of Halo 5, and I know for some people this might be a little bit of a tedious issue. Some people just want to play. They don't feel the need to dissect every little element of the game. But that's kind of my job as a commentator. I overthink things. And right now, I wouldn't say like Halo 5's in the greatest place. I think people are a little bit too black and white about it. People want to be saying either, oh, Halo 5 is dead, it's the worst game ever, etc., etc., or they might be a bit too white about it, where they're like, oh no, Halo 5's amazing, Halo's back and better than ever, welcome to Halo. Like, I don't think either of those things are even close to true, but I do think there's, like, something a little bit off with Halo 5, in terms of hype levels, in terms of, increasing the game's community. There was something you felt in Halo 4, like, despite its many problems and its many drawbacks, to me, there was always this sense that like something was building up, and we were building towards something, and it was getting more and more established where the community was, where the game was going, and what we were going to get out of the game, and if that was okay to the people playing, stuff like that. Whereas I haven't really felt like that in Halo 5. I've been a little bit frustrated with the infrequency of additions that we're getting into, the Halo sandbox. And I thought that, like, I remember hearing some article, and maybe I just completely read this wrong or heard this wrong, but someone once told me that 343 had made a deal with Microsoft where they were going to be more capable of doing more frequent updates into the game. But it seems like we're back on this 1 month scale of things, where it's like, okay, you wait a month. So if there's a big problem, and if there's a big, like, frustration, like, we'll just be sat to stew on it for, like, a really long time. And it just gets more and more frustrating as you get to the end of that month, because you know what the problem is. You're playing it every single day. And God forbid that you get to one of these monthly updates and they don't add or change or rectify the thing that you were most concerned about. I know the beginning of last month, what we were most concerned about, a lot of us, was like the playlist alterations. And it's like, okay, we want a slightly more social environment. We want just more variety in the playlists. And what we got was like a social variant of Slayer, a Slayer variant, sorry, I should say, but in social, which we already had a Slayer playlist. And I think when people were asking for more social playlists, they were sort of asking for something a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit of a change of pace from just like straight up having to run and gun and kill each other, because Halo 5 is a pretty, it's a punishing game, I would say. And the fact that the game is really, really ranked at its roots, and I feel like there's hidden true skill systems. I personally feel like there's a hidden true skill system in Warzone and in social, the new social playlists. I personally do feel that way. And you can take my opinion with a grain of salt. You can not trust it. You can say, oh, dude, like, you just got salty at matchmaking and you had a couple hard games. Okay, like, I understand that. I've played a lot of Halo. I've dealt with my fair share of Halo games. Anyone who watched me play Halo 4 on stream knows that I got my ass whooped. But even at the end of those sessions, I'd say that Halo 4 had a pretty forgiving, bracket of like true skill, of like, okay, you might play this hard guy one game, but the next game it's going to be a little bit easier, it's going to be a little bit more tentative. Even when I was getting wrecked some of those games, I knew that they had a fairly large window and large gap. In fact, I'd say it was pretty much a dead-on gap. Like, you might not play people that you're going to actually, like, whoop the hell out of, like, all the time in Halo 4, but you will play quite a few bad people, even in a ranked playlist, even when you're, like, moderately high ranked. Like, when you got into the 20s for Ricochet, I was still playing, like, bad people and then good people and then decent people and that's just kind of what I like. You know, I like the ebb and flow of matchmaking. I like one game, you know, being put on top of the world and being like, dude, I'm a monster. Like, I am just going in this game. I'm going ham. I'm getting the streaks. I'm sniping the peeps in their face. Pow, 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 pow. And then the next game, you get, like, humbled. You're like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not great. I thought I was sick. But actually, I'm getting exposed, like, super hard. I'm, like, getting spawn camped on bottom open ramp, and there's 2 people on either platform, and then you realize, like, dude, I've been a scrub this whole time. These guys have tactics and stuff. Like, that's cool. Then you see, like, you get to build up, you get to have this journey of, like, dude, I'm sick, and then, like, being brought down to earth, and then knowing you need to practice more, and then you've got that little motivation there. And I just don't feel like that with Halo 5. Every game I play, like, almost without exception, is like a game that pushes me to my limit and that says, hey, these people are almost like your exact skill level, you're always fighting, you're always clawing at each other. And if I go into ranked, I expect that experience. That's fine. Like, of course. Like, that's great. You know, I actually do think that their ranking is probably the most spot-on ranking I've played in a game in terms of, like, getting me someone who's going to be a challenge for me on a regular basis. Yes. But when I'm in social, or especially, God forbid, Warzone, which, like, Warzone is built from the ground up to play stupidly. Like, if I play stupidly, if I fall asleep at the wheel in this playlist, like, good luck to me. GG's, no rees. GG's, no handshake. Like, you just got owned. Like, a Wraith is now spawn camping you. Little animals are festering inside of your anus, and you are just having a terrible time. I got a little bit graphic there. I apologize. But, you know, I'm just sitting here playing this, and I'm like, where's the chill factor in this? There is no chill factor to Halo 5. Halo 5 has no chill, and it can be frustrating from time to time. And personally, you know, when I think about, like, some of the bigger games right now, I'm starting to feel like Halo and bigger games are becoming more of a culture than they are, like, a good game. I feel like there was a time when gaming was so small and so nerdy and so, like, you know, it had quite a bad press to it. It had bad press for longer than it should have done, and arguably it still kind of has bad press from some people, you know. Some people will still write off gamers as, like, nerds and dweebs, and, like, you know, the whole culture is lame, blah, 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 blah. But it obviously used to happen a whole lot more, and, like, the idea of, like, having a social avenue to be able to talk about gaming, you know, for there being massive social platforms that loads of people game, like, that was more and more of a distant, like, you know, dream, I guess. Like, you know, that was the idea. But now it's more and more happening, and I feel like gaming is becoming more socially dominated. Like, it needs avenues to be able to build social connections, or the game is going to go nowhere. And in a lot of ways, I feel like Halo 5 has squashed that out in some ways. When I go back to Halo 3 and think about my early experiences with Halo 3, in the actual matchmaking side of things, I was actually pretty bad at, like, Halo 3 matchmaking. I didn't quite clock with it for some time. I was decent at Halo 2. I could understand that game to some extent, but Halo 3, you know, with the leading your shots and with the more of a sandboxy environment, I just wasn't really wielding it in any particular meaningful way. And the way in which I, like, got into that game and got into that community was through infection, actually. Because, you know, I feel like I'm quite a sore loser, and I feel like it was more like, oh, okay, like, I just get to run around and hit people with a gravity hammer. I'm sick. I am the zombies legend. I am the king. I was the last survivor on one game. That must mean I'm probably top 20 in the world. These were the sort of thoughts that were running through my mind. And I feel like some people just need this avenue into the game where it's not like you just getting humbled. Like, people getting humbled, that is not the way to, like, build a community. Like, everyone's humbling each other, so, like, more than 50% of the community are getting wrecked every so often. Like, screw that, dude. Like, I feel like there needs to be pillars of the game. Like, the game needs to be propagated by more. There needs to be more there in terms of, like, there needs to be this established Forge community where sharing files, there's a Bungie, you know, like with the old Bungie favorite system, and Forge maps are going to the top and they're being shared easily. You know, why don't we have a custom file browser, for example? The Forge is amazing. I'm not trying to take away from Forge. I think the Forge is probably the greatest Forge of all time. like not just in Halo, but like it's. I guess I'm a little bit too limited with map editors to say that like hands down. But out of what I've seen in my personal gaming experience, especially on the console market, don't even get me started. I'm sure there's Gary's mod stuff or something like that that's like way better. And someone in the comment section is typing, "You freaking console peasant, you don't know anything." It's true, I don't. Okay, but nonetheless, you know, there needs to be better ways of getting into Forge, of getting engaged in the community, without necessarily having to go into matchmaking, have no chill factor, and like, I don't know, just get your ass whooped. Because Halo 5, like I said, it's a punishing game. It's a game that makes you feel really bad when you lose. And I think that's a testament to its like ranked play and to the gameplay like evolution as a whole. Because I think in a lot of ways when people criticized Halo 4, like that was one of the things they most talked about. They were like, oh, you can just get away with anything. You can just sprint away in the middle of the battle. Like, stuff like this doesn't happen as much in Halo 5, in my opinion. You get caught off guard. If you're not thinking about your positioning, if you're not thinking about where your team is in relation to you, you can die in seconds. Like, you can drop so quick in this game. Like, it's painful. It's painful to the soul. It's like, oh, okay, I was stupid, and now I died 5 times. Cool. And overall, I'm just kind of at the point where, like, I feel like they need to be thinking about ways in which they strengthen the core pillars of Halo, because that's what's always been best about Halo. Like, Halo, you know, people might point to the fact that Halo was like, oh my god, you know, it was Halo 3's innovative gameplay, it was the sandbox of Halo, it was the positioning, it was everything that went into it that brought people into Halo. But really what I think is that it just had really strong pillars, and there were so many entry points for people to get into the community, to get engaged without necessarily having to go the traditional route. You know, yeah, sure, some people will have gotten into Halo because they had that one ranked game where they clutched it out right at the end, and it felt sick, and it felt amazing. But then alternatively, you're going to have the guy who won a game of Griffball, and was like, you know what, I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'm starting to get the hang of this hammer. This feels satisfying to use. I'm owning people. Maybe I should take this to the next level, and they stick around and they do more stuff. Then there's Forgers, the person who designed his first Forge map. He showed it on a forum. He showed it on a website. He got a Bungie favorite, and he was like, holy crap, like, I'm sick now. I'm a legend. You know, I'm known. I'm on the Bungie website. Or maybe they just played someone else's Forge map and said, wow, these Forge maps and these Forge creations are amazing. There's so much variety to this game. I feel like I'll never get bored. There's always something to play. And the way in which you could share these options and you could get involved was just easier. And I think one of the biggest problems with Halo 5 is it's too difficult to get involved sometimes. It's too difficult to find these bridges and these pathways into the community where everyone feels a little bit more linked. I feel like everyone feels more distant from one another in Halo 5 as opposed to any Halo game I've ever played. And I personally feel that, you know, maybe one of the strongest, just because people like literally directly avoid me because they don't like playing in my diamond rank matchmaking. Even if they don't mind the difficulty, maybe they don't want to let me down, they think I'll get mad at them, and vice versa. You know, I've actually done the same thing. I don't want to play with Unisec because Unisec will carry my ass, he'll make me look stupid, I'll feel like an idiot, I'll let him down, etc, etc, and that just sucks, you know, in a Halo game. Like, you don't want to do that, and there needs to be just more ways of people getting together, of playing together, turning off their brain, you know, more custom game options. I think there needs to be, you know, the people's hard work in the community needs to pay off more as well. Like, people doing stuff like contributing to Forge need to be recognized more. They should be propagated. And I feel like, in general, you know, stuff like the fact that we're missing, like, campaign tools like Campaign Theater, that we're missing tools like 4-player campaign in co-op mode, online. Like, it just kind of gets a little bit frustrating because there were so many things, and we kind of took them for granted at the time. We didn't appreciate the full meaning of them in Halo 3 until they were gone. And then it was like, oh wow, like, I'm sitting here on my Xbox friends list wondering if I should invite someone to play one of the free potential playlists I could play right now, because I hate most of them, and they all seem a little bit too similar, like Slayer, Arena, like Arena, you know, Arena should be way more diverse and varied, but instead it's got like Slayer in it, you know. It's got like Strongholds, which in my opinion is one of the most generic and uncreative, uninspired game modes. Like, it's just a domination ripoff, and I just don't think it does a fair job of like showcasing what Halo is capable of, and showcasing, you know, Halo's finest points, which is, it is good at bringing people together, and it is You know, because of its sandbox environment and its sandboxy gameplay, there's so much you can do with the gameplay, and I feel like that's not being taken to the next level right now. And that sucks because Halo 5's sandbox is amazing, in my opinion. As I mentioned earlier in the game, my problem isn't with the sandbox and the base gameplay. My problem is with the pillars that should be raising them, that have been in previous games, and should have stood the test of time, but unfortunately got eradicated. You know, Reach had better pillars than Halo 5, but do I think Reach was a better game? No. But at least its little tiny shitty game was being raised by sick pillars like Forge World, like better file sharing options, like you know, more playlists, like playlist variety up the wazoo. Like, these platforms were crazy, so it didn't even need to be that good because it was raised so high, and there were so many ways of interacting and so many ways of getting involved that Reach didn't die for quite some time, despite the fact that I think it's a terrible game. Whereas Halo 5, here you are. Here's some good games, just copy the pillars from previous games, you'd be banging, but instead they take like a half of the pillar, or a crumbly little pillar, and it's just not enough to like stand the test of time, and it's not being raised high enough. My little pillar metaphor, I hope it paid off in some way. It was a bit stupid, but nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I put Undertale OST in the background. I'm probably going to play that on stream or something soon. It's a good game. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Thanks very much for watching, and peace.